What you are about to hear is not fiction. 3 people disappeared in Portland, Oregon, and for weeks, nobody even knew they were connected. Emma Clark was 24 years old. Top of her class. Never missed a deadline. The kind of person you would never expect to simply vanish, until she did. That night, March 4th, Emma did everything right. Finished her work. Texted her friend. Checked her locks. None of it mattered, because he was already waiting. She walked 4 blocks. That is all. 4 blocks between her apartment and the coffee shop she never reached. What happened in those 4 blocks took investigators months to piece together. At 6:14 a.m., a jogger stopped mid-stride. What he saw made him back against a tree and call 911 without being able to speak for almost 30 seconds. Forensics processed the scene for 11 hours. 11 hours, and walked away with almost nothing. No fingerprints. No DNA. No footprints. This killer had done this before. Detective Ray Harris had worked 200 homicide cases. He told his partner within the first 10 minutes, "This one is going to take everything we have." Portland was told not to panic. Officials called it isolated. But stay with me here, because 19 days later, the exact same silence happened again. Same method. Different victim. James Porter, 31, left work at 9 p.m., a routine he had followed for 2 years. On this particular Tuesday, someone had been studying that routine for weeks. When the maintenance worker found James at 5:40 a.m., he noticed something detectives found deeply disturbing. The scene looked exactly like Emma's. Not similar, exactly the same. 2 victims. No witnesses. No physical evidence. Harris pinned both names to his board and stepped back. He said later, "I knew right then there would be a third. Look at this map." Both victims were taken within a 2-mile radius. Both near public transit. Both away from cameras. This was not a random killer. This was a strategist. Harris did something most detectives resist. He asked for help. The FBI profiler who flew in from Quantico took one look at the case files and went quiet for a long time. The profile that came back was specific enough to be frightening. 40s. Organized. Employed. And this is the detail that changed everything. He had almost certainly killed before Portland. Rachel Hayes was 27. She took the same route home every single night, 10 p.m., same street, same blocks. And someone had been memorizing every step of it. For at least 4 nights before April 2nd, he followed her home. She had no idea. Think about that. 4 nights of being watched without a single moment of suspicion. On the 5th night, Rachel looked back. That one instinct, that single glance over her shoulder, is the reason she is alive today to tell this story. Rachel sat in front of Harris for 2 hours and described every detail she could remember. One detail in particular made Harris put down his pen and sit forward in his chair. The detail was the coat. Long dark. Distinctive. Harris went back through 60 hours of footage looking for exactly that coat, and found it in 3 separate locations. One parking camera captured him clearly, for exactly 4 seconds. 4 seconds of footage that would become the most important evidence in the entire case. The plate search returned 43 vehicles. Investigators worked through the night eliminating each one. By 4 a.m., 42 had been cleared. One name remained. Carl Dean Morrow. 47 years old. A prior stalking conviction in 2009 that never went to trial. An assault charge reduced to a misdemeanor in 2013. The system had seen him, and let him go. Harris made one critical decision at this point: do not arrest yet. Watch him. Let him move first. It was an enormous risk. And for 4 nights, nothing happened. On the 4th night at 10:17 p.m., Morrow moved. He got in his car, drove north, and headed directly toward a neighborhood Harris immediately recognized. His stomach dropped. He parked 2 blocks away and walked to her building. Then he stood outside for 11 minutes, perfectly still, staring up at her window. She was home. Lights on. Unaware. Harris watched from the surveillance feed and made the call. Not tomorrow. Not after more evidence. Right now, because Rachel Hayes was on the 3rd floor and this man was at her door. 4 officers converged from 2 directions simultaneously. Morrow's hand reached for the door. He had exactly 4 seconds before the net closed around him completely. He ran. Carl Morrow, who had operated in calculated silence for months, panicked and ran. And that panic is what finally caught him. He hit the asphalt at 11:46 p.m. between 2 parked cars on a quiet northwest Portland street. Exactly the kind of quiet, unlit location he had always chosen for his victims. Harris stood in front of Carl Morrow for the first time face to face. He said later he felt nothing, no anger, no relief. Just the weight of two names he could no longer bring back. What investigators found inside Morrow's apartment confirmed their worst fear. He had kept things. Personal items, one from each victim, organized, labeled, stored deliberately. He was proud of it. 2 families received calls before sunrise. They had been waiting months for answers. The answers, when they finally came, did not bring the comfort anyone had hoped for. The trial began January 14, 2020. The courtroom filled every single morning. Carl Morrow sat through 6 weeks of testimony without showing a single visible emotion. The jury was out for 9 hours and 12 minutes. When the foreperson stood up, the courtroom went so quiet you could hear the ventilation system in the ceiling. Then, guilty. 3 consecutive life sentences. No parole. The judge looked at Morrow directly as she read the sentence. He looked at the table. He never looked up, not once. Harris closed the case file on a Tuesday evening in February. He drove home, made coffee, and sat at his kitchen table until midnight, thinking about the ones he got there in time for and the ones he didn't. Emma Clark, James Porter, Rachel Hayes. Say their names, not the name of the man who took 2 of them. He is in a cell. They deserve to be remembered, not forgotten. If their story touched your heart, leave a comment in their memory, like this video, and subscribe for more true stories.